Emigration is a lot of work, organizationally, physically, and emotionally. The Rougemont family is packing up to move.
The whole name has to fit on the box. So, our 42nd box is finished.
The Rougemonts are a Jewish family. They've lived in the Paris suburb of Puteaux for more than 10 years. The children were born here. The family runs a thriving business selling motor scooters, but they say it's time to leave.
If you wear a yarmulke in the Paris metro, you will not be attacked, but people gawk at you. It's hard to endure those looks.
It depresses and frightens the family to see graffiti defacing Jewish-owned shops. Anti-Semitism seems to be on the rise in France.
There are clear historical parallels. These slogans scrawled on stores owned by Jews, we saw that back in the 1930s. One day we'll wake up here and see a new pogrom, a new night of broken glass. That could happen in France today.
Many young Jews say they no longer feel safe, especially in socially depressed neighborhoods. Some young Muslims have brought the Israeli-Palestinian conflict into the French suburbs. And they have support from left-wing pro-Palestinian groups, which sometimes also set the tone at universities. That makes some Jewish parents worry about their children's educational future.
My children will soon go to college. I don't know how that will turn out. We all know what's happening at the universities these days. My children will not be able to say openly that they feel tied to Israel, or even just that they're Jews. People will point them out, and the other students will provoke them.
The smear campaign against Jews is not limited to the left-wing extremist scene. Comedian Dieudonné Mbala fills whole concert halls with his anti-Semitic show. Hundreds of thousands of French people have visited the internet pages of right-wing extremist intellectual Alain Soral. He openly praises Hitler, for example, saying the Nazis' construction of highways to the east rescued the German economy. Soral likes to present photographs of himself in the ragged uniform of a concentration camp inmate. Antony, an architectural draftsman from southern France, is one of many French adherents of right-wing views.
No one has anything against the average Jew. That would be unjust. The attacks here focus on a very few people, the Jews at the top of the heap in our whole current system.
Growing numbers of people in France are starting to believe in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
The climate has changed. More and more people think Dieudonné's appalling anti-Semitic jokes are harmless. It's a kind of Jew hatred light that more and more Frenchmen now accept. But for the Jews, it's a very serious matter.
Violent attacks on Jews are also increasing, in broad daylight on the streets, and even in their homes. A month ago, 3 young men entered this apartment building, rang Simon Elmale's doorbell, and assaulted him when he opened the door.
I slipped. And while I was falling, I just managed to get in a punch. Then I lay on the floor, and they were all beating and kicking me, with their hands and with their feet, all 3 of them.
Elmale called out to his son for help, and the attackers fled. But since then, he's lived in fear they could return. Laurent Rougemont's family originally came from Morocco. His father was a printer and worked hard to move up in the world. He taught his son to love French literature and philosophy. The prospect of moving far away from French culture depresses Laurent.
I wish the French had shown us that we were welcome here. After all, I'm French too. I'm angry and sad. I have to leave some of my relatives behind. And I have to give up my job. I go with a heavy heart. But I have to think of my children.
Laurent's son Eyal is glad to go. In the future, he'll be able to wear a yarmulke without being harassed.
I really feel at home in Israel. I love France too, but I feel better in Israel. There I can say what I feel, and the other people think like I do. Life will be better there.
Other families will be following the Rougemonts. They can no longer live without fear in France, even though it's their home.